Eileen Carol Pittman, also known as Aileen Wuornos, was a female American serial killer. Born February 29th, 1956 in Troy, Michigan, United States, Aileen Wuornos was born to Diane Wuornos, who was 14 when she gave birth to Eileen. Her father, Leo Dale Pittman, was diagnosed with schizophrenia and later convicted of sex crimes against children. We're setting Eileen up for a really good life here. He eventually committed suicide in prison. Eileen's older brother, Keith, was born on March 15th, 1955. In January 1960, when Wuornos was almost 4 years old, Diane abandoned her children and left them with their maternal grandparents. They legally adopted Keith and Eileen on March 18th, 1960. By the age of 11, Wuornos was already getting herself involved in prostitution and, selling her body in exchange for cigarettes and drugs. She had also engaged in sexual activities with her brother. Warner said that her alcoholic grandfather had sexually assaulted her and beaten her when she was a child. In 1970, Eileen had become pregnant at 14 years old, having been raped by an accomplice of her grandfather. Holy shit, dude. A few months after her son was born, Eileen dropped out of school, and that was at about the same time that her grandfather had died of liver failure. When Wuornos was 15, her grandfather threw her out of the house, and she began supporting herself as a prostitute and living in the woods near her old home. In 1976, Wuornos hitchhiked to Florida, where she met 69-year-old yacht club president Louis Gratz-Fell. They married quickly. However, Wuornos continuously involved herself in confrontation at their local bar and went to jail briefly for assault. She would hit Fell with his own cane, leading him to gain a restraining order against her within weeks of the marriage. Within the years of 1981 and 1987, Wuornos would be in and out of jail multiple times for things ranging from battery to robberies to assaults. Multiple times. Wuornos met Tyria Moore in the late 80s. She was a hotel maid at a Daytona Beach gay bar. They moved in together, and Wuornos supported them with her earnings as a prostitute. Over the course of 12 months, Eileen would go on to kill 7 different men, all of which she had claimed of raping her. Richard Charles Mallory, aged 51, he was an electronics store owner in Clearwater, Florida. Wuornos' first victim was a convicted rapist, whom she claimed to have killed in self-defense. This, I believe, because he was already a convicted rapist. And usually, rapists don't learn the first time, so. He went missing on November 30th, 1989, and his body was found on December 13th, 1989, several miles away in a wooded area. He had been shot several times. 2 bullets to the left lung were found to have been the cause of his death. Yeah, I feel like that would do it. David Andrew Spears, aged 57, was a construction worker in Winter Garden. On June 1st, 1990, his body was found along Florida State Road 19 in Citrus County. He had been shot 6 times. Charles Edmund Cascadin, aged 40, was a part-time rodeo worker. On June 6, 1990, his body was found in Pasco County. He had been shot 8 times. Peter Abraham Siems, age 65, retired seaman who devoted much of his time to a Christian outreach ministry. In June 1990, Siems left Jupiter, Florida for Arkansas. On July 4th, 1990, his car was found in Orange Springs, Florida. Moore and Wuornos were seen abandoning his car, and Wuornos' palm print was found on the interior door handle. His body was never found. Troy Eugene Barras, age 50, sausage salesman from Ocala. On July 31st, 1990, he was reported missing. On August 4th, his body was found in a wooded area along State Road 19 in Marion County. He had been shot twice. Charles Richard Dick Humphreys, age 56, went missing on September 11th, 1990. He was a retired U.S. Air Force major, former state child abuse investigator, and former chief of police. He was fully clothed and had been shot 6 times in the head and torso. His car was found in Suwannee County. Man, that's sad, man. Walter Gino Antonio, age 62, trucker, security guard, Ad Police Reservist. On November 9th, 1990, Antonio's body was found near a remote logging road in Dixie County. He had been shot 4 times. On July 4th, 1990, Moore and Wuornos abandoned CM's car after they were involved in an accident. Witnesses who had seen the women driving the victims' cars provided police with their names and descriptions, resulting in a media campaign to locate them. Police also found some of the victim's belongings in a pawn shop and retrieved fingerprints matching those found in the victim's cars. Wuornos at this time had fingerprints on file because she had been arrested so many goddamn times that it was pretty easy to figure out that it was her. On January 9th, 1991, Wuornos was arrested on an outstanding warrant at the Last Resort, a biker bar in Blue Sea County. Police located Moore the next day in Scranton, Pennsylvania. She agreed to elicit a confession from Wuornos in exchange for immunity from prosecution. Moore returned with the police to Florida, where they put her in a hotel, and over the next few days and under police guidance, Moore made several calls to Wuornos, pleading for help in clearing her name. 3 days later, on January 16th, 1991, Wuornos confessed to the murders. She claimed that all the men tried to rape her and she killed them in self-defense. A year later, on January 14th, 1992, Wuornos went to trial for the murder of Mallory. At her sentencing, psychiatrists for the defense testified that Wuornos was mentally unstable and had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. On March 31st, 1992, Wuornos pleaded no contest to the murders of the Humphreys, Barres, and Spears, saying she wanted to get right with God. In her statement to the court, she said, in part, I wanted to confess to you that Richard Mallory did violently rape me, as I've told you, but the others did not. They only began to start to. On May 15th, 1992, Wuornos was given 3 more death sentences. I've never understood why they did that. Why does a person need 3 or 4 or 5 death sentences? Just kill them. Like, Jeffrey Dahmer had, like, 19 life sentences. Not death sentences, life sentences. Just kill the guy at that point. In June of 1992, Wuornos pleaded guilty to the murder of Karska Dawn. In November of 1992, she received her 5th death sentence. Man, that shit is stupid as hell. Just put her down. Wuornos told several inconsistencies about the killings. Yeah, because she's a liar. She claimed initially that all 7 men had raped her while she was working as a prostitute, but later recanted the claim of self-defense, citing robbery and a desire to leave no witnesses as the reason for murder. That makes more sense. Honest to God, that makes more sense. She was murdering. All of them were working men, and a few of them had pretty okay paying jobs, so that makes more sense than her original claims. Wuornos was incarcerated at the Florida Department of Corrections Broward Correctional Institute. Death row for women, then transferred to this Florida State Prison for execution. Appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court was denied in 1996, and in a 2001 petition to the Florida Supreme Court, she stated her intention to dismiss her legal counsel and terminate all pending appeals. I killed those men, she wrote. Robbed them as cold as ice, and I'd do it again too. There's no chance in keeping me alive or anything because I'd kill again. I have hate crawling through my system. I am so sick of hearing this she's crazy stuff. I've been evaluated so many times. I'm competent, sane, and I'm trying to tell the truth. I'm one who seriously hates human life and would kill again. Okay. While her attorneys argued that she was not mentally competent to make such a request, Wuornos insisted that she knew what she was doing, and a court-appointed panel of psychiatrists agreed. Man, if the fucking psychiatrists say it, then yeah. In prison, she had claimed that she was being harassed in all types of ways, overhearing conversations among prison personnel saying they wished to rape her before execution. She had frequent window checks, tight handcuffs, etc. Yeah, you murdered 7 men, Aileen. You murdered 7 men. They're gonna keep pretty close watch on you. That's not something to be surprised about. Wuornos' execution took place on October 9th, 2002. She died at 9:47 a.m. She declined her last meal and opted for a cup of coffee instead. Her last words were, "Yes, I would just like to say that I'm sailing with the rock and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus. June 6th, like the movie, big mothership and all, I'll be back, I'll be back." She was the 10th woman in the U.S. and the 2nd in Florida to be executed since the 1976 U.S. Supreme Court decision restoring capital punishment. And there you have it, folks. That's the Aileen Wuornos story. Victim or monster? I'm gonna say she was set up for failure, but she was a monster. Victim, yes, but there are a lot of people who are victims and don't go on a murdering spree. There are a lot of people who go through a lot of shit and they don't do this. I said this in my Ed Gein video. There are people who grow up like Aileen and they don't end up as serial killers. So, monster, a victim who is a monster. That's my take on Aileen. And with that, I will see. This is kind of short video today, huh? I'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. Subscribe and like and comment and follow me elsewhere. And I will see you next time.